There is a kind of suffering that does not scream. It does not appear as intense pain, nor as visible despair. It is quieter, more diffuse, harder to explain. It is that feeling of emptiness, even when, on the surface, everything seems fine. You have work, you have responsibilities, you have people around you, and still something is missing. Viktor Frankl called this the existential vacuum, and he knew exactly what he was talking about. Frankl did not develop his ideas in comfortable rooms or abstract theories. He forged them in one of the most extreme conditions in human history: Nazi concentration camps, loss, humiliation, hunger, death everywhere. He observed something that stayed with him for the rest of his life. Physically strong people often died quickly, while others, fragile and weakened, endured. The difference was not in the body, it was in meaning. Frankl realized that those who had a why to live for could endure almost any how, not because their suffering was smaller, but because their suffering had meaning. This realization became the foundation of his entire work. According to Frankl, the existential vacuum appears when life is no longer lived as a mission, but merely as a sequence of stimuli. When we no longer know what we are living for, everything begins to feel insufficient. And here lies the most disturbing truth. Never before have we had so many options, so much comfort, so much access, and yet never have so many people felt so lost. The modern void is not born from lack. It is born from excess. Excess information, excess comparison, excess distraction. We live busy yet disconnected, active yet empty, surrounded yet alone. Frankl believed that when meaning disappears, human beings try to replace it in three main ways. The first is pleasure, excessive consumption, constant entertainment, endless dopamine, not to feel joy, but to avoid feeling the emptiness. The problem is that pleasure does not sustain us. It distracts for a moment, then demands ever-increasing doses. The second is power, status, recognition, control. An unconscious attempt to prove worth when worth is not felt internally. But power does not fulfill either. It only masks the void. The third is conformity. Living as everyone else lives, thinking as everyone else thinks, wanting what everyone else wants, not because it feels meaningful, but because it avoids confronting the inner emptiness. Frankl referred to this as neurogenic neurosis, a suffering that does not originate in the mind, but in the absence of meaning. It is not clinical depression. It is not pathological anxiety. It is the persistent feeling that life is passing by without you truly being present in it. Perhaps that is why so many people say, "I don't know what's wrong. I just know that something is." That sentence perfectly describes the existential vacuum. Frankl was very clear about something many people resist accepting. The meaning of life is not given, it is discovered, and it is not discovered in abstractions or in grand mystical revelations. It is discovered in three simple yet demanding dimensions. The first is meaningful work, not in the sense of a perfect career, but contribution. Something you do that goes beyond your own comfort. Something that makes you feel that your actions matter to something greater than yourself. The second is love, not as a romantic ideal, but as a deep encounter with another human being. To truly see someone and to allow yourself to be seen. Frankl believed that love is the only way to fully grasp the essence of another person. The third, and perhaps the most difficult, is meaning in suffering, not seeking suffering, but when it arrives, choosing your attitude toward it. Frankl made a radical claim. Even when everything is taken from us, we are still free to choose how we respond. This idea is uncomfortable because it removes us from the position of absolute victim. It does not deny pain. It does not romanticize suffering. It recognizes that the posture we adopt toward pain also shapes meaning. The existential vacuum grows when we avoid fundamental questions. Who am I beyond my roles? What truly matters? When everything else is stripped away, what gives meaning to my days when I am no longer distracted? Modern society does not like these questions because they demand silence, they demand stillness, they demand confrontation, and the void does not tolerate being observed for too long. But Frankl believed that avoiding the void only strengthens it. Only by facing it can something new emerge. Perhaps the emptiness you feel is not a sign that something is wrong with you. Perhaps it is a call, an uncomfortable invitation to live more authentically, a life less automatic, less reactive, more intentional. Frankl believed we should not ask what we expect from life. We should ask what life expects from us. This simple inversion changes everything. Perhaps today is a good moment to sit in silence for a few minutes. No phone, no noise, no distractions. And ask yourself honestly, where am I living on autopilot? What am I doing merely to fill time? What kind of meaning am I avoiding creating? Not to find immediate answers, but to begin listening. Because the existential vacuum is not the end of the road. Often it is the beginning, the moment when life stops being merely endured and slowly begins to be lived with intention.